Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today is episode number 15 of Geeks Drop the Gauntlet. My name is J-Rad as always, and this is...
J-Rad 2.
That was good. That was good. In today's episode, we will be discussing the make or break system that has been implemented in a multitude of video games, and this is, what we're talking about is combat mechanics and gameplay. So we will each bring up a few games that seriously resonated with us on a combat level.
Yeah, and while I don't pretend to be an expert, because as we discussed earlier, I play most of the games that I play on story mode. There's a number of games that I have enjoyed playing that I'll bring up, and then it was mostly because of the combat mechanics. There's been some really good games I've enjoyed that have had crappy ones, but
Loser story mode?
I'm getting older and my
you know what's funny?
hand-eye coordination is terrible.
You know what's funny? I 100% agree. There was a point actually recently where I was playing a really hard game, and I was like, why am I doing this? I just don't have the skill anymore for it. But
I don't like to challenge myself. Work is enough.
That's true. But yeah, so we will mostly, when we're talking about these games, we'll mostly be talking about action-adventure, some first-person shooter, and some fighting games. So, without further ado, let's dive right in.
Okay.
Bring up your first game, mister. J-Rad 2.
Okay. If you can remember that name. So, right off the bat, my favorite combat game, period, is Spider-Man.
Okay.
PS4, PS5.
Yep.
Because I love the movement. I love, where they've registered the hitbox. Insomnia did, a fantastic job with that. And you feel like Spider-Man when you're playing. There's a whole multitude of different web shots you can do. There's different gadgets you can do that still feel Spider-Man, where you're not going into the Iron Man mode of Spider-Man. It's a fun game. I love the talking as it's happening and stringing together combos, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's by far my favorite.
Absolutely agree with you. That's clearly in my top genre, or not genre, but my top amount of games as well. No ifs, ands, or buts there. I will say, though, I think I liked Miles a little bit better than the original Spider-Man. And the reason why is just the venom attacks with the electricity were so cool.
Yeah, well, and I loved Miles.
Cool.
I love Miles. I haven't finished it yet, and I need to sit down. Is there?
It's been out for 2 years.
Is there a story mode?
Or it's a year. Yeah, there's a story mode on that. All right. So that was excellent. I absolutely do enjoy the Spider-Man games. Next on my list, I'm going to start with my number 2. I'm going to save best for last for me.
Fair enough.
So for number 2 for me is one of my favorite sword fighting games.
Okay.
This game is called Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Now this game to me is okay. So first of all, it's in the Soulsborne series. I get that it's hard, all that kind of stuff. Yes, but the thing that made it to where I could stand it and stick with it was A, they got rid of the stamina system. I hate worrying about my stamina. And B, the deflection system they have in the game, where it's literally a dance, where you're like, swing, swing, oh shoot, deflect, deflect, swing, swing, deflect, deflect. And there's no break in there because I'm not trying to run away and hide in the corner because I ran out of stamina, or I'm not trying to, no. It was absolutely fantastic. The gameplay was smooth. And to me, it is the best Soulsborne game out there.
Is that the one where you spent forever trying to kill the bad guy at the end, where he has the 3 forms?
The lightning, and he has the lightning.
Yeah.
Or no, yeah, yes.
Okay,
that's him.
okay.
That's
that was fun to watch, but I'm not really into any games I can't pseudo button mash, and that requires some strategy that I do not have.
Well, I'll be honest. There's some button mashing. When it came to deflect, there were certain bosses in the game that swung so many times. You need to be pretty precise on the deflections. Well, they would swing so hard, I'm all just spam the deflect button, and it would work every now and then. So I'll take it. But yeah, so that's definitely number 2 on my list, just because of the sword play mechanics are amazing. Yeah. They're just amazing.
Cool. So I'm going to go with, a long-running favorite for me.
Okay.
And that's DC Universe Online.
I love that game. Yeah.
It's been out for, 12 years now?
2011, I think.
Yeah, so 12 years now. And I think we got in at launch, and it was gorgeous. We met some really cool people playing and everything. And the thing that I liked about the game is you could fairly easily switch powers. And then try a different power set with your character. But I really like how easy it was to cycle through the powers, like holding L2 or R2 and then like just cycling through, where you could really get some good chains of power that were good AoE and then a mix of like a focus blast. And then you could clip the powers as well, like in those chains. So like you could put together some stuff that would wipe people out. Now you end up facing a few bullet sponges here and there in the fights, but
MMO doesn't.
Yeah, and I'm not real big on the one shot.
The one shot mechanics.
In fact, that for the most part, that just kind of ruins a game for me.
I agree.
But I did like the coordination that it took.
Yes.
You did have a warning on any one shot, so like the screen would flash or you'd see something turn on fire or something. So you knew it was time to block, and if you didn't, you paid the price.
Yeah.
But I just enjoyed investing time in that game.
I agree. I really liked it. I'm going to mention one negative thing that I hated about that game is they would come out with new powers, and I was oh, that's so cool.
Right.
And then you would spend real money to buy the powers. And then I would it takes time to learn these things.
Yeah.
You learn them. I learned how to clip. I learned how to do all this other stuff. And as soon as I was like, yes, I am good, they're like, nerf.
Right.
I'm like, what?
The Red Lantern power, the Rage Lantern.
Rage.
That was so
what
funny.
What are you doing? So, so that always will be a negative for me. But overall, that was a great game.
Yeah.
That was a great game. And also, I just loved the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Gee, I can't talk.
Yeah,
I can talk.
We had a great time with a lot of really cool people, and I haven't been on this game in
me neither,
probably 10 years, but
we made some friends.
Well, not 10 years; it's been less than that, probably 3 or 4. But yeah, it was fun.
It was a good time. All right, well, next on my list for me, and I've got to bring this up, is the new God of War games.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that if you played the original trilogy, there was 5 games, but I'm not gonna count the PSP games really. That's a give or take. But point is the original trilogy was really good. I enjoyed it. God of War 3 being my favorite, but it was a straight up hack and slash. Straight up. That's all it was.
Yeah.
The new God of War games implemented a little extra where the combat still hit hard. It was visceral. It was awesome. But especially with the new one where you had Atreus in the mix that had a little more, he could do a little more. And it was just really, really cool. You even get to, spoiler alert, you even get to play as him. And it is awesome. I really, really enjoyed that game. And what it brought was a series that I think reached its peak and was kind of on the way down, and they brought it right back up. And the combat is stellar. Graphics, stellar.
Right.
It was just a great game.
Yeah, and like the axe, like throwing the axe was
Leviathan
so
axe.
Cool. I really enjoyed that.
I get that the Chaos Blades are probably people's favorites, but I will say the Leviathan axe is amazing to throw it, but I will say the new Dropnir spear that you could throw and then it would just reform in your hand and you could, that was awesome too. The weapons were amazing.
I also like in the new one, like in the old one you get in these fights with these larger than life gods that you're running up their arm and everything, and in the new one you're fighting Norse gods that are your size. So like I think the fight has more opportunities to be just solid.
Yes.
Because those large ones where you're fighting things that are just floating around and you're running up the arm and running in the eye hole to stab their brain or whatever the heck, that like it really gets dicey around that. It can,
for sure.
But the new one's it was so polished.
Yeah,
it's
Santa
beautiful.
Monica nailed it. Knocked it out of the park. All right, what do you got next?
So go ahead and leave your comments. But the next one for me was Marvel's Avengers. And it has its issues. Like, it has issues. And the way everything ended with Marvel's Avengers was horrific. Like, I have not played the game since that. But I loved how when you played as each hero, you felt like that hero.
Give me that.
When you played as Hulk, you felt that rage and just like unbridled strength and everything, and that was just awesome. And then Captain America throwing the shield, and then all like Hawkeye's arrows, like
Thor.
all of it was just, Thor was just he felt like and there was a glitch in there that I don't think it was intended, but then it was never corrected.
They left it,
and it made it so you really felt like a god when you had 3 charges of this really powerful God Blast.
Yeah.
And
Thor's
so,
my favorite.
yeah, that was just awesome. I really enjoyed playing that game. I spent more hours than I want to count. I didn't even take a look before we got on here. But
it was a good game.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I agree. All the characters felt unique, and that was cool. The only thing I have negative on that is when they put Spider-Man in. I was like, all I'm gonna do is compare it to Insomniac's game, and I did, and that's why it felt.
It hurt. You couldn't string together the same kind of power as you could in Insomniac, but I mean, they did an okay job. You did feel like Spider-Man when you were in it, but Insomniac is just
they're the kings of Spider-Man games. All right, yeah, definitely that was a good choice. I think the combat definitely everything else surrounding it not very good, but the combat was fun.
Right. It's repetitive as hell.
Yeah. Well, next on my list is a game that I didn't think I would put on here just because I didn't play any of the previous ones. And this game is Devil May Cry 5. I didn't play the first 4, and I never did. And 5, I think, was maybe on sale or something a year or two ago. I don't remember. And I was like, oh, it looks cool. I'll pick it up. And I started playing it. Yeah, I couldn't tell you what was going on. I have no idea what's going on in the story. But the combat? Holy smokes, was the combat good.
Yeah.
They have this Gauntlet challenge at the end where you had to make it through like 100 levels. And for the people that played, they know what I'm talking about. I spent weeks on that thing trying to beat it. And playing as Nero was absolutely amazing. Like, he was my favorite. I know Dante is a little more flashy, but Nero was my favorite. And boy, did I put hours into that. Combat mechanics, on point on that game.
This dude had to drive like an hour and a half to get home from work. He'd drive an hour and a half and walk in the door all frazzled and go straight upstairs and just close the door in his room, and you'd hear him playing Devil May Cry until after I went to bed every day. It was so damn funny. I loved it.
It was super addictive, and I have to say that the literal only thing that carried that game was the combat to me.
Yes,
I don't know anything about the story, sorry, but yeah, the combat, sweet.
Nice, good choice. All right, well, I'm going with an oldie, but goodie.
Okay.
And I'm saying Street Fighter 2.
Okay.
We're
on Street Fighter 6 now.
I don't even know. I lost count. I think the last one I played was Street Fighter 2. But, like, I loved the different powers that they would have in there. Like, every character had their unique abilities. Like, the hits were solid for the time. Like, I didn't get a lot of those, like, punching through or like weird slide offs or anything like that you get in a lot of those like face-to-face fighting games. And it was just a good game.
Was this one of the ones you could play in the arcade?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I remember this.
Yeah. And like, of course, Ryu's my favorite. But I remember playing it so much. I beat M. Bison was... Man. Anyway, I played it so much I could beat it with every single person, but like it would screw me up when I tried to like switch from one to the other. But I just love that game. I love the variation in each of the characters.
You know, I have not been much of a Street Fighter gamer, and I'm talking, you know, the Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken. But that's changed recently, and I have something to say in our honorable mentions.
Tekken was fun too.
Tekken was pretty cool. I played that even on the what do you call it, the arcade type stuff. But yeah, no, that's a good choice. I'm excited to bring up my honorable mention. But so for me, next on my list, I have to bring this up. Yes, we know it's one of the greatest games of all time, but the combat mechanics itself are amazing, and this is Red Dead Redemption 2. I have to bring it up just because not only is... When you think Red Dead Redemption, you think Western, you think gunplay. Yeah. Right? Guns.
But the gunplay is solid.
And the gunplay is solid. But there's more to it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I got into bar fights. Yeah. I got into knife fights in the streets. You know, like the actual mechanics of the fighting, not just gunplay, but the fighting were amazing. Chasing on horseback, train fighting. Like when you're on the train and you're trying to rob it. You can literally... not part of a scripted story mission, go rob a train if you so choose. And you have a huge gun battle and marshals show up and all that. The combat mechanics were stellar, and Rockstar nailed it in a third-person action shooter. Like, they just nailed it.
And I love the ragdoll. Like, if you screw up and get off a horse early or something, like, all of it was just fantastic.
It was fantastic.
And, oh, God. There was a TikTok, and I don't know who did it, and I probably
know what you're talking about.
But like, these guys fought me in a bar for no reason, and he punched a girl like in the bar, and it started this huge bar fight, and some dude got slumped that was leaning up against the wall. Oh my God!
It is hilarious.
I laughed at this so hard that I cried, and You know, it's been probably 3 episodes since I've mentioned crying.
Yeah, good job.
I know. I feel pretty good. That makes me a little sad.
Don't cry.
It's been so long since I mentioned it, but anyway, if you see that on TikTok, it is hilarious.
Yeah, it is one of the funniest Red Dead clips I've ever seen. But so again, I had to include that just because yes, we know the story, everything's amazing, but so is the combat. Combat is so amazing. So that's definitely on my list.
So my last choice is Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Oh, the recent one.
Yeah, I really liked the game.
Yeah.
And I started playing it on medium level or whatever. Like
Jedi Knight.
So I'll be honest, this is the first game I played in story mode, and I started playing it on medium level, and it was fun. Like there were some stormtroopers that gave me a hard time here and there, and I was like, I don't feel like a Jedi. Like I don't feel real cool, and so I got a little bit later in the game, and I fell into that hole that has that
frog-looking guy.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Holy crap! He handed me my crap.
Yes.
So I was like, well, I just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So I went at it again. I knocked off this much of his health. I was like, nope, no, I'm gonna try this again. So I tried it again. Nope, got killed again. So I'm like, I'm gonna dial it down to like easy. And so I tried on easy, and he still mollywopped me. Like it was like I might be able to get him down like a third to maybe a half of his health, but he still just destroyed me. And so I was like, story mode it is. And so I beat him in story mode and didn't change it back. And then I was like, this feels cool. I'm blocking stuff. I'm able to kill people. I felt cool. Yeah. And so I was like, story mode. And now I'm playing everything in story mode because it feels real cool. And plus, I hate like having a shortage of ammo in some of these games where if you play it on like medium or hard, it's really hard to find ammo. But
like Last of Us.
Yeah. But if you play it in easy mode or story mode or whatever,
ammo galore.
Like ammo just manifests itself.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up Jedi Survivor like that because that was one of the first games too, and that's a recent game, but one of the first games that I turned it on as I normally would, and I beat the first game, I believe on the second to hardest difficulty, and on this one I was like, I could probably do that too. Maybe I'll even tune it up. So I started it at the hardest difficulty, and about 20 minutes in, I dialed that back down to the second hardest difficulty. I was like, okay, that's more like it, you know? Then I met the frog, the infamous frog.
It's like Megado or something like that.
And I spent about an hour trying to beat him, if not longer.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I was like,
you broke a controller, didn't you?
No, I almost did. I was like, either the controller's gonna get broke, or I'm gonna break myself somehow mentally. So I need to do something. And I looked around, and no one's watching, no one's doing anything, no one's judging me. And I was like, I'm changing it. So I changed it down to, I think I changed it to Jedi Knight, which is the medium difficulty. And he still beat me, but I made a lot more progress. And I was like, I'm not even trying again. So I dropped it all the way down, beat the literal ever-living crap out of the frog, and then bumped it back up to Jedi Knight, which was the medium, and played the rest of the game on medium. Normally, I'm the one who would want to play it on hard. I'm too old for that. I'm too old for it now. I'm not dealing with it.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, I'm not dealing with it. All right, well, that was a great choice. I do like the Jedi combat in that game. It was awesome. My number one choice, and this is due to pretty much to the sheer amount of hours that I've spent in this bad boy, my number one combat system is the Arkham series.
Yeah.
Batman Arkham series. I have more hours in that game than any other single-player game out there, and the only reason is because of the combat. I have played so many of the combat challenges, like religiously.
You're like ranked in a few of those.
I used to. On one of them I was number 7 in the world. I have multitude right now this day that I'm top 50 in the world, which is, you know, to me that's a big deal.
Heck yeah.
And I spent a lot of time in this game, but if the combat wasn't good, I wouldn't have spent this much time. The combat is amazing.
There's one where I think he's Nightwing, and this might have been the one where he got up to like 7th in the world, but
the Infinite one?
Yeah,
that was Robin.
So, oh yeah, it was Robin.
Robin.
So they're all
buddy.
coming in, and he's on like a rooftop or something. There were so many bodies. He was like standing on bodies in the middle of this,
Like,
and like
piled
it
up to
just
his
kept going.
knees.
Like he was running out of places to knock people out because there were so many bodies.
Yeah.
And I think they started disappearing
They
after
did.
a while.
They did.
But there was always like you were probably waist deep in bodies the whole time.
That is the one that I was 7th in the world, and I played that for 2.5 to 3 hours straight.
yeah.
That level. 'Cause
I
it was
remember
infinite.
watching that. That was fun.
So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, so I had to put that as number 1 just because of that. It's awesome. And another thing I really have to mention about it real quick is that it's awesome because on the surface it looks super simple, and it is if that's all you want from it. If you want to button mash, you can. But if you want to go deeper, you can, and there's a lot deeper mechanics to that game. So that's what I thoroughly enjoy about it. So that's my top 5.
Awesome. Good picks.
Awesome.
I don't
Well-
disagree with you that much.
Well, then I think there are some other games that we have to mention. Just because they are awesome. They just didn't crack my list at least, and I don't know if they sound like they didn't crack your list either.
Just some quick flybys. I'll mention a couple.
Yeah,
so
go for it.
Battlefield 3, I loved. Like we invested so much time in that, and like. What was that?
One of the better FPS.
What was the level where you're like
Airport?
underneath
the tunnel airport?
Yeah.
Or subway tunnel? I'm
subway
sorry.
tunnels
Yeah.
when you're underneath Paris.
Yes.
Like that was such a good
one
level.
of the best
and
maps
and I
ever made.
love that you would have somebody like around the corner shooting. They get dropped. You have a medic come up and pop them.
Yep.
They didn't overcomplicate things.
Yes.
It just felt it was good combat. Like sometimes you got your butt whooped, sometimes you didn't. But it was just a fun game, and
I agree.
and decent like hit. Like 3 shots and somebody's down.
Yeah.
It wasn't too rough or anything, like a headshot, somebody's down. So it felt good. Like
did
it was
feel
just a
good.
fun combat, like first person
And
shooter.
ever since, I think Battlefield 4 was also pretty good. But like you reached a peak with 3, and then 4 was okay. 1 was okay.
1 was solid.
I liked it, and then it's kind of just gone downhill.
Yeah, it has. I haven't really even played it since 1.
You're not missing much. Yeah, that's a good game. One I have to bring up real quick is a new fighting game. We were talking about Street Fighter.
Yeah.
I have to bring this up just because back in the day I used to play Mortal Kombat, but way back in the day, probably 15, 20
Well, we
years
also
ago.
played DC, the DC one.
Oh, DC versus Mortal. Wasn't it DC and Mortal Kombat?
yeah,
DC
well,
versus
it's
Mortal
called
Kombat?
something.
DC?
Like where Superman turns bad.
Oh, you're talking about Injustice.
Yeah, Injustice.
Yeah, we
That's
played
basically
Injustice.
the same thing.
It's basically the same thing, but I didn't take that one very seriously. We
No,
played just a little
no,
bit. But currently, I am trying to learn and play, and I'm really enjoying Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah.
I know there's a new Mortal Kombat on the horizon, so therefore I was like, oh, I'll try 11. We'll see. I just threw everything I had at it. I love it now. So that's that.
Cyberpunk
Yeah.
2077. So generally, I don't like first person either punching or
I agree,
like
100%.
sword play
100%.
because like when I'm playing Fallout 3 and I've got that shish kebab
You wanna
sword
switch to third.
and I'm in first person, I take a couple of hacks at something and it's behind me and then I can't find it and I'm dead. But in Cyberpunk 2077, it actually felt pretty clean. Like whenever you started using those like power ups and everything. And then the gunplay wasn't bad.
Gunplay
like
was
I
good.
like those tracer bullets and things, and
It was solid.
and that you could hack them, like where you could just kind of see the outline, hack them. It was a fun game.
I felt like an
in that
augmented
regard.
human, and I liked that.
Yeah, and
it was good.
There were problems, but it was fun.
Yeah. No, I agree. I definitely, it's one of my favorite FPS action games because
Yeah.
I think most FPSs, if I'm going to play a first-person shooter, I want it to be exactly that, a shooter. I don't want any other actions.
Yeah.
But this one definitely needs to be on the list. Another game I want to mention really quick is Sifu. This game is, it's pretty short, has a few levels that I thoroughly enjoyed. The boss fights were amazing. This is a straight combat fighter, but it's like, the way they did it was awesome, and the martial arts in there was awesome, and the overall principle of the game of you don't die, you just get a little older every time you do, quote-unquote, lose all your health, I thought was a really cool feature, and when you reached old age, you had to restart all over again because that game was over. I just thought it was really cool, but the combat was stellar. What a great game.
So I'm going to bring up Last of Us 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because that just, man, I love the story in Last of Us, and Naughty Dog just does a fantastic job. I don't know if the combat mechanics would be what they would be known for primarily because their writing is just fantastic.
Yeah.
But this one actually delivered, and it felt good. It felt like as you were playing different characters in there. I don't want to go too much into it for people who haven't played it or even seen like the Last of Us show, but they just. Yeah. It's awesome. Like they just did a great job with that.
Yes, Last of Us 2 has probably, and this is for me personally, probably one of the better third-person combat mechanic gameplay in terms of a survival, where you're not a superpowered anything. You're just a human. You're surviving, and you have a rifle and a pistol and that kind of stuff. Wow, is it amazing? Like some of the animations are next level, I think. And this is a PS4 game. Can you imagine what they're going to do on PS5 when they come out with Last of Us Part 3 maybe? Or whatever they plan on doing. It's going to be amazing. So yes, I'm so glad Last of Us is on honorable mention. In fact, it almost cracked my top 5 list.
It's same.
So next game I want to really mention really quick is Ghost of Tsushima. That game is also an amazing sword combat gameplay like Sekiro. But this one was way more grounded in reality. Sekiro was definitely Soulsborne-ish, but also had a huge fantasy where a lot of powers, magic, all that, blah, blah, blah. This was very much grounded in reality, grounded in a historical setting, and the samurai gameplay was amazing. It was awesome. So I had to put that in here. The combat was stellar.
Finally, I'm going to bring up another problematic game with really fun gameplay and combat mechanics, and that's Anthem.
Yes, 100%.
I loved how each suit felt different. I loved the flight in each suit, and like the power consumption and everything was awesome. And then the gunplay was good. It just felt good to play that game.
It felt like Iron Man.
Yeah, and like to have a team of different suits was just awesome. It was really fun to have those coordinated battles.
Everything else surrounding it was terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why the game failed. But the combat was fun.
Right. I wish that thing could have succeeded.
Me too. So those are some of our honorable mentions. We do have a couple dishonorable mentions we want to throw in there as some little jabs to it.
Yeah.
But we'll make these real quick. Do you want to kick us off?
Okay. Again, please feel free to leave your comments. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Not the new one.
Not the new Modern Warfare 2, the original Modern Warfare 2.
On PS3.
Yeah, and I love the game. Like,
Terminal, you put a lot of hours in it.
Yeah, Terminal is probably my favorite level of all time. But the run around with 2 shotguns and just
Akimbo style,
and then just knifing people from across the room. You just like bring your knife up and cover 25 feet, and then single
special perk.
Knife upside the neck or whatever, and that's it. Single shot, boom, and you're done. That sucked. I think I was done with. That was the last Modern Warfare or Call of Duty game I even played. Because I was just, and it wasn't like if you can't beat them, join them. Because even when I did it, I felt terrible. Like it just wasn't fun.
Yeah,
and
it was not. It
was a stupid mechanic, and I just.
Oh. For me, it was when I play Call of Duty, I want to shoot a gun.
Yeah.
I don't really want to walk around knifing people.
Right.
So,
and there would be people that would just run around the whole map just
did.
zigzagging and jumping, and then they just knife you from across the room, and you're like, you brought a knife to a gunfight and you're beating me.
Yeah. Well, and I hit you twice with a shotgun.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So yeah, I can hear you on that one. But overall, that game does hold a special place in our hearts.
Well, it's great. It's a great game. I just hate that effect.
I agree. Another one I had to bring up real quick is Assassin's Creed. I'm going to bring up the series. Overall, as a whole, there was definitely some hits and some misses when it came to the games themselves. But if we're going to talk core mechanics of combat, they were either really simplistic in the early games, or for me, the most recent one like Valhalla, it just wasn't that fun to me. Like they didn't do anything crazy to change it, really. It was R1, 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 R2, or if you wanted to do a combo. And that was it. Or use your powers. And that was, or not your powers, but your special moves. And honestly, that's a game that has hundreds of hours in it.
Yeah.
But your combat's fairly limited. I got bored.
Yeah, and there were a lot of instances where you're above your target and he starts to walk away, and you jump down to where your target was, and he's 4 feet over here, but then you still kill him with like a one shot. Or you'll jump in front of him, and then it glitches you behind, and then you kill him or something. And like that looks awkward for a game that's like you're an assassin.
Yes.
Like you'd feel that like those knife play things would be pretty clean, but it
also,
just it wasn't real
kind of
clean.
supposedly grounded in reality.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I agree with you there for sure. So what's the next one?
Oh God. So like. A game that I enjoyed, but it just didn't really meet expectations for me was Gotham Knights. I thought we'd get like Arkham level combat, and it was good. Like, the combat was enjoyable, but whenever we tried to play at the same time, the host could play just fine, but the person that was joining the host was like a fraction of a second
delayed.
off. So you would get shot and you couldn't react, like you couldn't block anything. Like, you'd press a button and you wouldn't get a response on it until. But like, the host game and all the bad guys in the host thing are going at the right speed. So like, if you were joining a game, you were getting your ass kicked. Like, there's no way around that.
No. And the one feature in that game is one feature that's known for the Arkham games is the counter button. A thing pops up against the bad guy's head. You hit that counter button right, and you counter him. There is no counter. There's only dodge in Gotham Knights. And I'm going to be honest, some people may be like, oh, well, that's fine. That's just the way they made it. Yeah, but it's set in this universe that was like, they kind of, yes, it's not part of the Arkham universe, but I don't know. But you don't include that? Like, what are you doing? So, yeah, that really bothered me. But overall, I think we had fun with it for what it was.
I had fun with it. Like, there aren't a lot of games I haven't had fun with.
Agreed.
I put it on like 2 minutes later. I'm like, that was fun. I'm out.
Yeah.
I spent $60 on a game. I'm playing it.
Agreed. So last that we have on the list is one that we want to bring up. This is another one that we've had a lot of fun in, but there were some issues with it, and that was Ghost Recon Breakpoint. That is the most recent Ghost Recon. It was the one with John Bernthal, I believe, as the main villain. And while that was all cool and everything, for me, I will say right off the bat, the story-wise, I mean, it just didn't hook me at all. So I felt no reason to play through this extremely long game. And the only saving grace for me, and this is just for me, was being able to play as a two-man team, and we'd go in and have some fun every now and then when it came to like clearing buildings. But there were some issues, bugs, glitches. There was a lot of stuff that just like when you're trying to have fun with a game that you're already not quite feeling, and then you have a bug or a glitch, not even funny one, but you're just like, I can't move. I'm stuck in this building, or I'm stuck on this thing. You're like, I don't want to play anymore.
Right, and then like the rotation mechanics are all weird, like the way they walk around, like the buildings and everything, and the things that they hear and then they don't hear. And then like some of the best are when like somebody be running like at the height of this table and step off of that, and then they pull their parachute and die, and not have time to pull their parachute. Like, that cracked me up. But like, that's kind of a stupid mistake to make in a game like that. Yeah,
that was kind of annoying. But, I mean, it is what it is. Again, overall, even the ones we said were dishonorable mentions, we still had fun playing for the most part. Absolutely. I had a lot of hours in quite a bit of those games that we mentioned. So, overall, that was a lot of fun. It actually makes me kind of want to go back and play a few of these games again because of how awesome they were.
Except Sekiro. That's a nope for me until they have story mode on that, because I do not have that strategy.
Well, maybe you should just man up, because there's no story mode on that game.
Fine. Elden Ring.
Really? Okay, well, I just would like to let you know that that's harder.
Not with the bleed build.
They nerfed the shit out of that. Good luck. I remember that, actually. I used the bleed build. Anyways, next week, we wanted to do something a bit different on this channel. So what we're going to do is we are going to be asking each other the tough questions. No holds barred. We're going to have a knockdown, drag out, rapid fire questions from all of the Nerdum world. And what I mean here is each of us are going to bring to the table 5 hard-hitting questions that we have not shared with each other, so we won't know coming in, and we must answer on the spot. Now, hopefully this creates some fun and especially some havoc.
It will. I'll try to keep words to a single syllable so you understand what I'm asking.
Ouch. I know not what talk you say. No, well, tune in next week for this awesome question episode, we'll call it. Hopefully this is something that we've wanted to do. Hopefully this is a kicker. Hopefully it's awesome. So again, thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please do consider hitting that like and subscribe button, as that greatly helps the channel. We are on a push to reach 1,000 subscribers, hoping to get there sometime in the not too distant future before I grow gray hairs. But
too late.
Oh, well, that hurts. But again, just wanted to say thank you for watching, and we appreciate the support. And as always, ladies and gents, just make sure and stay geeky. Me, him, now done. Twos.